There are two important facts about life you might not know. One, no mineral is more crucial to longevity than magnesium. Two, the most effective form of magnesium is stabilized magnesium ions. That's where REMAG comes in by Dr. Carolyn Dean. Experience the benefits of stabilized ionic magnesium and support your health today. Visit RNAreset.com and use offer code MIRACLE10 for 10% off your first order. Visit RNAreset.com and use offer code MIRACLE10 for 10% off your first order.
Welcome to the 5 o'clock show. It's time for Common Sense. Now, it's Katz and Cosby with John Katzimatidis and Rita Cosby, standing for truth, justice, and the American way, bringing common sense to the world. Now, here's John Katzimatidis and Rita Cosby. Breaking news, WABC.
Wow. What a day for news it is today, Rita.
It is enormous. There are two big stories. We're following them. Of course, there's probably more than two, but of course, everyone talking about the Daniel Penny case, found not guilty on the lesser charge. Lots of protests. We're going to get into all of this. And also the guy caught, the one who is now suspected of killing the United Healthcare CEO in New York City.
In the studio with us, we have Judge Richard Weinberg. We have Congressman Peter King and George Venizelos, the former head of the FBI in New York, the assistant agent in charge.
Director.
Is that the title?
Assistant
director in charge. I don't know why I can't get it right. And you were in charge of the whole New York area for 4 years. And well, George, what do you think? You think we got the right guy? Or what?
It looks that way, and it's it was good old-fashioned police work, and the public. The strength of the public, you can never underestimate.
He was a guy at McDonald's.
Somebody,
that's the most amazing thing. An employee at McDonald's sees the guy.
Yeah, they got a good picture. And once that picture went out, you knew it was only a matter of time. And they ended up getting in Altoona, Pennsylvania at a McDonald's.
Of all places.
And the FBI put out a $50,000 reward.
Yep, and there was a 10 from the locals.
Is the McDonald's guys going to collect
I hope
it?
so.
He better.
He earned it. He earned it.
You know what's interesting, you guys? The background of this guy. It's interesting that he was a valedictorian.
Yeah.
Top
private school.
Yeah, top private school in Maryland, a tech expert. What I'm having a hard time.
Ivy League graduate.
Ivy League grad. But you know what, Pete?
And he'll get life imprisonment if it was him.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. Does Pennsylvania? George, you served in Pennsylvania.
Well, it happened in New York.
Is there a death penalty in Pennsylvania?
It's New York.
It would be New York, right?
They don't use it much. It's not like down south.
It's John.
It's New York.
It's where the crime
New York.
happened. Right.
Yeah.
It's New York.
It'll be a state charge.
They'll release him in 2 days.
Bragg will say, he seems like such a nice guy, You know what I'm having a hard time? A nice guy. By the way, his name is Luigi. Luigi Mangione. 26
Luigi
years
Mangione.
old.
Where's the Italians in the group here?
Yeah, exactly. Where are they? We don't have any
No
today.
Italians today.
Not tonight.
Yeah, I would have thought the guy was going to be like a homeless person or a person who looks deranged. Instead, he has everything going for him. Yeah.
Smart guy, had everything planned, had a silencer on that gun. And
it's a ghost gun, John.
So we still haven't found out why he did it yet.
Well, and he had this,
He
had this manifesto on him.
Right.
This is what I'm having a hard time understanding, guys. He's supposed to be the smart guy like John's talking about, and he obviously evaded authorities right after the shooting. But he's hanging out at McDonald's with a manifesto in his pocket and the same gun, apparently.
Fake IDs and everything.
Yes.
And Rita, we have an exclusive. I understand that Daniel Penny is innocent.
Yes, bravo.
The jury did the right thing.
Bravo.
And we have his lawyer, Kniff.
Yes, Thomas Kniff is going to be calling in shortly. Yep.
About 10 minutes after 7 or 7 minutes after 7.
And
after
5.
7 minutes after 5.
We don't want to lose audience.
I'll be giving you a speech by 7.
Yeah, it'll be an event.
And then also, who else?
Then we also have you guys coming up. We're going to be talking to General Blaine Holt. He's going to be talking about Syria. This was an enormous deal of what happened this weekend.
Serious business.
So this is big
Syria
stuff.
Business?
Serious business. And we got Miranda Devine, and we have Bill O'Reilly and Congressman Nancy Mace.
Yeah. Nancy Mace is the one that says You can't come into the women's bathroom.
That's right.
If you're
Yes,
there.
yes.
Good
Can't
for
wait.
her.
Can't
Good
wait.
for her.
And you guys, let's go to breaking news because we have our first guest.
Breaking news, WABC.
We have joining us now the great attorney, Thomas Kniff, of course, first of all, representing Daniel Penny. Thomas, congratulations. First of all, your reaction, and Daniel Penny, I heard, was smiling and just felt relief today.
Yeah, Rita, it's great. It's great to be here with you guys, and smiling would be an understatement. We're elated. We could not be happier to finally get justice for this great Marine.
They made him go through hell.
Oh, yeah, I was Tom P. King. Have you ever seen a client who was so composed? I mean, throughout the trial, he looked like the Marine walking out of court every day. I'm sure you gave him a lot of assurance, but still, as a lawyer, you almost pray you have a client who is as honest as he was, but also that looks the part. He was tremendous.
No, I can't take that away. I mean, look, as wonderful a job as our legal team did, it's not just me. It's a lot of people that had his back in this case, and not to mention the whole country who support. We couldn't have done this without. But it's not every day you have a client like him. But America should take a bow here, because this is
Can we give him a ticker tape
this
parade?
is the type of person that our Marine Corps puts out. This is the fabric of this is the real fabric of the country here.
Thomas, can we give him a ticker tape parade? Can we arrange it with the mayor?
Mr. C, if you're backing that, I'll certainly show up.
No, listen, I think we should consider it, because let me tell you something. This guy did the right thing by New Yorkers, and guess what? They treated him like crap. And enough is enough.
Well, you know what? Listen, as much as this is a day of celebration, and, we've been celebrating for the last 5 hours, I'm not going to lie to you, we should not, that cannot be forgotten. The notion, right, that, because you walk out with a not guilty for a verdict, and rightfully so, that the 18 months of hell that this poor man has been put through for doing nothing other than trying to stand up for his fellow neighbor, people he never knew, people he never laid eyes on before. What this district attorney's office, has done to him, no, it doesn't just go away because the jury says not guilty. So everyone, as much as we're elated and we're euphoric, and rightfully so, no one should forget that.
Nobody should forget it. And Mr. Kniff, what did I call you? Attorney Kniff? Tom?
Counselor, the winner for justice. That's what you can call him.
My daughter, who's GOP chair in Manhattan, wants to propose you to run for DA again.
Well, I don't know about that. Well, but your daughter is AJ is top notch. I have nothing but respect for her. She's a wonderful human being.
You should consider it, because look, I think you have the name recognition. People know who you are. And listen, I have nothing against Bragg, except I don't think he's doing the right thing.
Also, John, Tom is also being considered.
Congressman King.
Yeah, I was going to say, without making a commitment or anything, Tom, I've heard from a number of people you're being considered the United States Attorney.
Well, there's been some talk about that, but look. First of all, I'm humbled that my name would even be in that conversation. It's utterly humbling, and my
you won a case.
My dear late mother would be thrilled, but it's that's also a big commitment. So
you won a historical case.
You did, and you won it in New York. Let's not forget about that. It was a New York jury, and we've seen the way they've handled other cases. So you really, bravo to you and Steve Razor, and obviously to Daniel Penny. Everybody, we're doing an exclusive interview now with Thomas Kniff, the attorney for Daniel Penny. They just won that huge case. Judge Weinberg.
Tom, good to talk to you again. Number one, I want to congratulate you. Two, this is a case that never should have been brought. It should have been dismissed. In fact, Bragg should never have even presented this to the grand jury. That's my humble legal opinion. And number two, the fact that when he took the case last week and they dismissed the first count, the second-degree manslaughter, and then they then threw it back to the jury for the criminally negligent homicide, I think that was a bad legal judgment by Judge Wiley. And I think you had a winning issue on appeal on that as well.
No, I agree. And look, I have a tremendous respect for Judge Wiley. It's not the first case I've tried in front of him. I was very happy when this case got assigned to him. And I told him this on the record, so I'm not saying anything I haven't said before. But what he did was unprecedented. I mean, there is no legal mechanism to allow a district attorney, a prosecutor, the Supreme Court of the United States has spoken on this, to dismiss a case or to dismiss a count once it's in the hands of the jury. So it was a very eyebrow-raising move. Look, obviously at this point, no harm, no foul.
But it was a clear example of overcharging, Tom.
Tom, do you have any idea what's your best guess as to how come the jury acted so quickly today? After the trial went on for a while, and they really, I guess, within an hour, right? They made a decision.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, look, I thought the jury should have come back after 3 hours. I knew they were going to make it look like they were going to make it. They were going to take the case seriously and not going to come out back with a 5-minute verdict on a case of this import. I was surprised that it took them 4 or 5 days of deliberations. But we were surprised because we said, look, if they're hung on man 2, the top count, then someone thinks he's guilty on that. I don't know how, but they did. So for them to reverse course like this, we were thrilled. We thought maybe they'd come back with a hung jury. I don't know. Look, maybe somebody had a catharsis over the weekend and, just came to their senses, because this was the only sensible verdict. There's no question about that.
Yeah,
I mean,
we don't know, though,
everybody
right?
on WABC was talking about it. Sid was talking about it this morning. We were talking about it. And I think the jurors finally realized that there's nobody supporting that guilty verdict.
But it's interesting to what we're all talking about, because typically it looked like sort of a push by Bragg for a compromise verdict. And right, exactly absolutely. So it is stunning that they had some epiphany.
No. I mean, there can be no question about. I mean, this was an attempt by a overzealous, unethical prosecution. I'm sorry, that's what it was.
Don't be sorry.
No one could read these transcripts and see what went on. I mean, listen, I've been doing this for 25 years, and I've never seen anything like I saw in this courtroom from any prosecutor anywhere. And I prosecuted cases in the military, federal court, all over the globe, and I've never seen anything like this. So it was a last-ditch attempt to try and salvage a conviction. It didn't work. It should not have worked. It was an attempt to force a compromise verdict, which the highest court in New York State, the Court of Appeals in New York, the Supreme Court of the United States, says we don't do that. We don't compromise when you're dealing with a man's freedom.
Well,
so what's next for Daniel Penny? I'm curious, Tom, and also
ticker tape parade.
Yeah, other than the ticker tape, but what is next for him? He also has the civil suit from the family too.
Yeah, well, good luck with that, because I got to tell you, we're gonna fight back on that. We're resourced, we're ready, and we're just not gonna let that happen. At least not sitting down. We have people there. It's grandstanding. Listen. You now want to profit from your estranged son's death when all the times where, look, Jordan Neely's death was tragic. This doesn't change that, but the tragedy was a failure of the mental health system. The tragedy was a failure of the criminal justice system, not just to hold Jordan Neely accountable for his crimes, and there were many, but to protect him from himself. And now you're gonna stand up here on a soapbox, ghoulishly, and say, look, my son that I never had anything to do with in my life, that I never looked out for. Now I'm gonna see a payday. That's not gonna happen on Razor and Kniff's watch. I can assure you of that. So the same way we beat back possibly the largest and most well-funded district attorney's office in the United States, well, unfortunately his civil lawyers are going to be on the receiving end of the same type of defense.
Well, bravo to you, first of all. Thomas Kniff, definitely a hero for justice.
Maybe a future U.S. attorney, maybe a future DA. You never know.
Either way, you want him on your side.
I'd like the great incoming President Trump to maybe appoint me to ambassador of Monaco. That sounds much
I'm sure.
I want an appointment too. I was just suggesting to Rita maybe ambassador to Third Avenue.
You're already that. You're already that.
Hey, Tom, great job.
Where
Really.
all I have to think about is, people's passport applications.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah.
I don't
Tom, what
blame
you did was superb. What you're up against is absolutely phenomenal, especially a New York County jury. It's a great job. Great job.
Bravo,
I
bravo.
appreciate that, Judge.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you. Congrats. Huge congrats
Love
to
you
you.
guys.
We
Thank
love
you.
you. Thank you. Congrats. Wow. And joining us now here on Cats and Cosby, we have Congresswoman Nancy Mace from the great state of South Carolina. I'm a Gamecock, so, thrilled to have you here. Congresswoman.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Hey, first reaction just to, you're a military gal. This just came down as you heard about Daniel Penny, a Marine who was there on the subway trying to defend others, drags them
Defending
in.
American citizens on a train.
And he's a Marine, well trained. You're a military gal. What's your reaction? Justice seems to have prevailed even in New York City.
Well, I did graduate from the Citadel, but I never served. But justice prevailed today is what it sounds like in the case of Daniel Penny.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Your thoughts too, about, these drones that have been flying all over the place, Congresswoman. Have you seen this where there are reports of these drones that are flying over, military facilities in New York, in New Jersey, also Bedminster, of course, which is Trump's golf course. How concerned should we be?
And I just heard of an incident at a base in South Carolina in the last couple of weeks as well. This is a national security issue, whether this is someone, testing out some drones over military sites, it's a dry run, or if it's China or Russia, an adversary. We have to get to the bottom of it and make sure that we are protecting our skies, that China isn't spying on our nuclear secrets or military installations and gathering data. I want to know why they haven't been shot down yet. Is what I want to know.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I agree with you. I mean, to have these things flying over our bases, if President Trump was president right now, I don't think it would happen.
Yeah, I've been working on legislation for, military installations to be able to shoot these things down when they're over military bases. It's an FAA issue, apparently, but our House Armed Services Committee, we need to address it sooner rather than later and make sure that if it's China, that we're shooting them down, we're collecting the data, looking at the technology they're using, looking at the data they're trying to collect and figuring out how we can protect our national security.
What a far cry it is, John. I'm thinking you brought up Trump. If he was in office, it feels like he's in office already because
right now,
it feels great to be an American.
The headline on Fox before was Trump is running foreign affairs, even though he's not president yet.
Yeah, he's like the de facto, right?
He's like the de facto president because Joe Biden is still MIA, like he's been the last 4 years. Nobody really knows.
We don't mind. We don't mind. Let him stay.
Yeah, John thinks that's a good thing, which we agree.
Let him have a good time in Angola.
Yeah, falling asleep.
Exactly.
But why did he give the Angolians $1 billion? Because he was visiting. And why did he give another $1 billion to the Ukraine?
Yep. And by the way, guys, in the southern states that got hit by Hurricane Helene, there are victims who had thousands and thousands of dollars worth of damage on their property.
You know what they got?
$750 checks.
And I was going to say the way you say it in Brooklyn, they got guts.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know what? Congresswoman, you had a great point because over the weekend he gives another $1 billion, wants to give another $1 billion to Ukraine. He gives the $1 billion, like he talks about, to Angola. And you know what he said when he gave the money to Angola? He said it's because they've been victims of natural disasters. I'm thinking exactly what you just said. South Carolina, which I know well, and North Carolina I know well, and I know you certainly do, Congresswoman. There are so many people that are still begging for help and are living in tents. And he's giving $1 billion haphazardly?
Yep. Have you seen the pictures of Asheville lately? I mean, it is still like a third world country up there in a lot of places in North Carolina, Western North Carolina. It's deeply sad. And we've got to help them, and they're just stranded and living in tents, homeless.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Congresswoman, what do you think these things are flying around? I mean, they're pretty big to be just plain,
regular drones. They seem to be bigger than like a hobbyist,
like the size of a car.
I haven't been briefed yet by DOD, so I can't say. But if I had to guess, my best guess would be these are adversarial. They're from China, and they're spying on the United States.
And before we let you go, Congresswoman, you've been on the front lines. Bravo to you for fighting for young girls and women everywhere. Also fighting there in the halls of Congress to say that the bathrooms should be used by biological women for the ladies. Explain just some of the resistance you've gotten and also how important this issue is, because it goes into sports. It was a huge issue in the presidential race.
It sure was. And today I'm receiving death threats from unhinged lunatics. But the majority of America and the public are with me. They don't want men in women's spaces. And my legislation includes bathrooms, includes dressing rooms, locker rooms, any type of a single-sex female facility. Men shouldn't be in it. And I don't want to hear any argument otherwise. You're crazy. You're a lunatic if you think men's penises should be in women's spaces. Like, I don't want women to be forced to undress in front of men.
Should we have a guard in front of the women's bathroom and have them drop their drawers so we could check?
No, we don't want to do that, but we just want people to use common sense.
Yes.
Don't invade women's spaces.
Yeah, I don't want to see that in a ladies' room. Would you, Congresswoman? I wouldn't.
I don't want anybody's junk anywhere near me. And I made that very clear. And people are threatening to kill me over it, which is wild.
But, Congresswoman, it's Judge Richard Weinberg. Good to talk to you again. I want to say,
yes, sir.
We're the feminists who are supposed to be protecting women's rights for scholarships, for sports, for privacy. I don't hear anything about that.
Nope, they're not. And the few that are, the few on the left that are liberal or center left or feminists that are speaking out, the Democrat Party is leaving them behind. And I want those women to know you have a home here. We Republicans, in the Trump era, we will protect women and girls.
You know what's amazing, Congresswoman? It was Seth Moulton of Massachusetts, right after the election, again, conveniently, came out and said, I think we were too far to the left on some of these issues with transgender. And then he got scolded by his own party.
They're going to primary.
He got annihilated because he didn't want boys playing in girls' sports.
In the studio with us, we have Congressman King, who was a member of the ranking member of Homeland Security.
No, Chairman of Homeland Security.
Chairman of Homeland Security, and we got George Venizelos, who was the assistant director of the FBI for 4 years. Let me ask a silly question: does the Air Force, or the FAA, talk to the Air Force and have them shot down? Because that's what I would do if I was there.
On the drones.
On the drones. Or did somebody say to them, don't shoot them down? We should find that out.
Peter King?
Peter King? I agree with Nancy Mace, who, by the way, is doing a great job down in Congress. Thank you.
She is. You're fighting the great fight always.
Listen, I think it's important that you find out from DOD, from the Armed Services Committee. I mean, look into this completely, because this is a real threat, especially flying over Bedminster, flying over military bases. Yep. And we have to get some kind of protocol as to what the policy is.
I've been in the middle of drafting a bill for a couple of weeks now regarding allowing our military installations to shoot down drones, because my understanding is we need legislation, because currently it's the FAA's responsibility. It's their airspace, even over military sites and nuclear sites. And so we have to do it legislatively is my understanding, which is why we've been working on a bill that we're going to file in the next Congress. And I sit on House Armed Services as well. But there is, I guess, a difference of opinion whether you're talking to FAA or DOD, but we've got to legislate it. And I've been literally in the middle of drafting this bill over the last couple of weeks, and it sounds like I need to do it now. That's what it sounds like.
George Venizelos from the FBI.
Yeah, I think before they shoot it down, they should try to figure out where it's coming from. The size of these.
When you shoot it down, you might, if you shoot it down nicely,
you can see
you'll find out where the equipment came from.
Because there's feelings that these might be coming from the sea, ships.
Which is scary. I mean, look, what did the spy balloon, remember, went across the country?
The submarine is coming from. I mean, we just have no idea. And we should be the greatest fighting force in the world. Why can't we figure this out fast?
Well, the same here. Nancy, could I ask you a silly question? When are we going to take back the Red Sea? Sir. The Red Sea and the Suez Canal. I mean, this is nonsense what the Biden administration did to us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I've been trying to get over there because I want to see it for myself. But, I mean, we have a responsibility in our Navy, too, to protect commerce out at sea. And it's, of course, all of that's happening over there is making the cost of goods go up. It's hurting the supply chain. And that all has an effect on the consumer.
We're helping. You got to think at it from the other point of view. We're helping Iran's profits.
Yeah.
Yeah, and prolonging the war,
too,
prolonging the battle against us.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, you're talking about an administration. How many billions did they give Iran? They just gave them $6 billion more in March of 13th of this year. And
we made them
under the Obama-Biden administration, they gave them over $100 billion.
We made them rich again.
It's really frightening. Congresswoman, you're terrific. You got to come back on again soon. It's so great to have you here.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you so much. The great Congresswoman Nancy Mace. And everybody, we're going to go to a quick break, talk more about the Red Sea and also what's happening in Syria. Stunning big developments. General Blaine Holt after the break.
A common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
And we are back here on Katz and Cosby. A big news day also internationally. Syria. The Assad regime has fallen. They've been in power there for 50 years, the Assad family. And now he's in Russia. There are no good guys in this fight. Boy, there's a lot of stuff here. Let's go to General Blaine Holt, retired U.S. Air Force Brigadier General, also former U.S. Deputy Military Representative to NATO. General Holt, how concerned should we in the world be? Because it could become a major terrorist haven, even more so.
Oh, yeah. No, listen, you nailed it. I mean, there are no good guys in this thing. It's bad guy versus bad guy with really bad guy going at somewhat good guy. Here's the simplified version. President Erdogan from Turkey has had HTS in essentially an incubation mode. HTS, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, is really just Al-Qaeda, and the founder is from Al-Qaeda. Well, these rebels finally, when there was weakness in Lebanon with Hezbollah because of Israel's operations, brilliant operations, the Ayatollah waning in Iran, Russia with its hands full in Ukraine, Erdogan drove the lane and unleashed these rebels on Syria. And now they've toppled the government. The military's vaporized. IDF is taking some seriously responsible steps in getting rid of the chemical weapons, any military capabilities, and taking a buffer zone. But anybody who's kidding themselves thinking that this is a bunch of Thomas Jeffersons that are going to have a great diverse society and restore democracy, that you're going to see something that looks more akin to what Afghanistan and the Taliban have done.
Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, General, this is former Congressman Pete King. What is going to be the status of the 800 or 900 troops that we still have there in the East?
Yeah, so, Congressman, this is what we have needed to answer now for quite some time. They have been shot at. They've been attacked from October 7th and before then by Iranian-backed militia groups, and now they're in the squeeze. They've got ISIS that they were hitting on last night. They've got Al-Qaeda to their west. And no strategy as to why they're there. So when we say they're there to get at ISIS, well, if that were true, then the 77 targets would have been hit months and months and months ago. So what President Trump wants is an evaluation of the strategy behind their deployment. And if their deployment is unnecessary, then they should be pulled home immediately. There's no reason to lose American lives over this.
How much do you think Trump is going to change this around? You know, it was interesting. I mean, Trump said, let's not get involved in Syria, sort of let it sort itself out. What role does he play? Because clearly he's the de facto president.
Right. So I think what President Trump prefers in his toolkit is a variety of demilitarized options. And I don't know that it's going to be completely possible for him to now do it this way with everything that's occurred. But what he is looking at is the presentation of American forces, and if they can't be justified, they can't defend themselves. And if there's not enough force there to actually advance on these rebels or terrorists or whatever, then we have to redeploy them, if not home, then to an area that makes sense that we can actually utilize our forces from. And I loved what was just said in the last segment about the Red Sea because we're trying to optically to make it look like the United States Navy has a peer in the Houthis, which is just absolutely ridiculous. If they had the right rules of engagement and were given the mission properly, the Houthis wouldn't exist on this planet. And so I think President Trump's got a very good design on our vital interests and where and when to use force, and then to stop through Congress on your way to that place if you have to go there.
So, General, you think the Houthis will abandon the Red Sea before January 20th, or wait till Trump gets there?
Well, if they don't, I think they're going to find out that it's a very different United States Navy that they're looking at, where the hunters will become the hunted. And Israel, you'll see that alliance between the United States and Israel reblossom. You'll see things like our special operations and their special operations come together. I'm hoping that there's a hostage rescue mission in the offing down the line. But no, I think the Houthis will be done, and I don't think the Russians will invest weapons in them anymore. And I don't think the Ayatollah can afford to keep those supply chains open anymore because they're going to be going broke rather rapidly.
We're going to make the Iranians poor again.
Thank goodness.
Yes.
That'd be nice.
Thank you, General, for everything you've done in the past and everything you do right now and speak out for America. Thank you so much.
Thank you, General Holt.
Thank you all.
Thank you. And everybody heard the other headlines.
It's the top news of the day, sponsored by Goya. Here's Rita Cosby.
And everybody, a suspect in the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson is in custody. The NYPD said 26-year-old Luigi Mangione was arrested in Altoona, Pennsylvania today at a McDonald's. Officials confirmed a firearm, some fake IDs, including, they say, one matching the fake New Jersey one presented at the hostel. Also, a manifesto related to the crime written by Mangione were found on him when he was arrested. And Marine veteran Daniel Penny has been found not guilty. We had that exclusive interview with Thomas Kneff, his attorney, at the top of the show. Now, Penny was charged with manslaughter and negligent homicide in last year's chokehold death of Jordan Neely on a subway train. The jury found Penny not guilty of negligent homicide after he was acquitted of the top charge of manslaughter last week when the jury could not reach a verdict. We're going to have a lot more on this also with Bill O'Reilly later on in the show. And up next, Miranda Devine. Stay with us, an action-packed Katz and Cosby.
You're commuting home with Katz and Cosby. Now, here's John Katzimatidis and Rita Cosby on 77 WABC.
And we are back here on Katz and Cosby. What an action-packed day. It definitely is.
And we got Miranda Devine with us, and she is one smart lady.
We love Miranda.
Yes, we do.
And she had a great column, Miranda, where you said Trump is back. Whether everybody in the world wants it or not. Fill us in.
Yes, well, we saw really the other day when he was in Paris for the reopening of Notre Dame, how the world leaders were facing him, lining up, standing up to greet him, shake his hand. He did his trademark, very aggressive handshake with Emmanuel Macron. And to me, that was like a symbol that America is back, that Donald Trump's back in charge, leader of the free world. And, he has a heck of a mess to clean up. Even since the election, you've had the issues with Syria and South Korea. So there's a lot of problems, and there'll be a lot on his plate and on his shoulders. But, at the moment, it's just, I think he's in the honeymoon period, and he's working really fast to get the right people on board. He's got the Winter White House down at Mar-a-Lago with all systems go. There are just so many people flocking to him to find favor with him and, talk about the problems. Elon Musk is there all the time.
Miranda, what I thought was really interesting with the opening of the Notre Dame Cathedral, Zelensky flies in. I mean, that was a huge meeting. He flies in because Trump's there, goes and has this meeting with Macron and Trump. Then he goes in, and you're right, it was like the Beatles walked in. Everybody was shaking his hand. Even Jill Biden couldn't stop talking to him. Joe Biden's wife. Did you see that? That said it all.
And also Prince William.
And Prince William, that's right.
They're a key ally, and he's a symbol of that alliance.
Yeah. It was like everybody was like coming over to Trump, and it was like he was back. And it was amazing to watching him. I mean, it reminded us of what a juxtaposition. You got, Biden sleeping in Angola, and yet here was Trump shaking everyone's hand, sharp as a tack, engaged. What a contrast, right?
Yes, and he hasn't stopped. 73 days, I think, during the election, he never stopped. 5 speeches a day, was zigzagging, and he has not had a rest since the election. So he's still full steam ahead. And as you say, I mean, Joe Biden, he's supposedly the big Catholic. He's always talking about it. And here is the opening of one of the most sacred cathedrals in the Catholic world. And Notre Dame, it's come up from the ashes. And he just sends his wife. I looked at his schedule. It wasn't particularly busy. So you just wonder. I've called him Pino, President in name only, which is really short for Pinocchio.
It seems like he's not even in charge whatsoever. Judge Weinberg.
Miranda, good to talk to you again. In your column today, you also alluded to the fact of the death of the 5 political families in America, that Trump put them to political rest. Would you explain that, please?
Yes, well, that's right. I mean, this is something
that sounds like The Godfather. Doesn't that sound like The Godfather?
Yep.
Yeah, George and I are like
5 families. So it's
the 5 families.
The Bidens, the Clintons, the Bushes, the Cheneys, of course, and the Obamas. So he's just dispatched with all of them, all in their own way, have egg on their face, have made fools of themselves. They threw in their lot with Kamala Harris. It didn't work out. They've been very, cruel and vicious to Donald Trump, particularly, the Obamas, you would say, and, running the whole Russia hoax and the rest of it. They've all called him Hitler. The George W. Bush hasn't said anything, so, he's gracious enough to keep his powder dry, but certainly a whole lot of ex-Bushies formed the nucleus of the Never Trump groups. And
they were part of the 51 Intel. Remember the so-called 51 Intel, Miranda Devine.
Exactly. And then, the Cheneys, you had Dick, and you had Liz Cheney, his daughter, and they've come out and said that Donald Trump's an existential threat. And Liz Cheney, with her January 6th involvement in that committee of Nancy Pelosi, she's done great damage to a lot of innocent people who are the J6 prisoners.
By the way, what's going to happen, Miranda, you think, with the J6? Because Trump was asked a lot about that over the weekend. He did an interview with Meet the Press, and he made it sound like he is obviously seriously going to look at all the cases and maybe release some of them. That is obviously something important to him, and he might even do some of that on day one.
Yes, I think that's right. The general feeling that you get is that he's going to pardon them and likely pardon them all. I mean, there are some that are problematic because they've had serious violence offences, but, they've spent time in jail already and their jail sentences were well ahead of comparable jail sentences, especially when you look at the Summer of Love, the riots with BLM Antifa. So my bet is that he will pardon them all. And look, considering that Joe Biden's just about to do, we're told, this blanket pardon of people who haven't even been charged, people like Fauci and General Milley and, the rest of the cabal, Adam Schiff. I think, no one could even turn a hair if Donald Trump did that.
Yeah, I agree. Judge Weinberg.
That's exactly right. By Biden doing what he's doing, he's made it easier for Trump to do what he has to do.
Yeah, absolutely. By pardoning his son, and blaming DOJ for being political, he opened the door. Big time. Miranda, thank you so much. And everybody always check out your awesome columns. They're terrific, Miranda.
Thank you, Miranda.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Rita.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Judge.
And we've still got Bill O'Reilly coming up.
Exactly. He's going to be joining us right after the break on Katz and Cosby.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
And we are back here on Katz and Cosby. By the way, also, let's do a little breaking news just on this here real quick.
Breaking news, WABC.
This is just coming out from Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas, military guy, of course, saying that he believes the Senate will confirm all President-elect Trump's nominees. They have been meeting on the Hill today. That includes Pete Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard. So that is good news for President-elect Trump.
And you know what he's going to do if they don't perform? You're fired.
See ya, right? Just like The Apprentice.
Sounds like a good idea for a TV show.
Yeah, maybe a successful one. Well, joining us is another very, very successful guy, the great Bill O'Reilly, host of Common Sense with Bill O'Reilly, mega best-selling author. His latest book is Confronting the President and the Presidents. And you can also hear him every night here on WABC Radio, 9 to 10 p.m. Bill, everybody's talking about the Daniel Penny verdict, not guilty. Your reaction, first of all, to that, Bill?
Okay, I just want to make one comment on Mr. Devine. I think it would be a mistake to pardon blanket all of the rioters that have been charged for January 6 offenses. What should happen is that everybody knows this was a political campaign run by Merrick Garland in the Justice Department. That's a historical fact.
Bill O'Reilly, you think it was Merrick Garland? Is he the one pushing the buttons, or is it somebody else?
Do I think it's whom?
Anybody else? You think it's Merrick Garland?
Yeah, well, he was ordered by Biden's people. But everybody
That's
knows
it.
it was
Who?
political.
Yeah.
So the U.S. attorneys were ordered to find and prosecute these people. So what should happen now is that once President Trump is sworn in, he should establish a 3-judge panel, Judge Weinberg being the leader, to look at each case. It's all on the record. You don't have to investigate anything. All the court testimony's there. And then recommend. There are more than 1,000 cases. Sounds like a lot, but you could do it in a year and a half. That would be the fair way to do it. And I think that if President Trump does that, the lion's share of the J6 people will be pardoned.
I accept that nomination and that appointment. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the common sense way, because justice is justice. Can't have political violence in this country. You can't.
Absolutely. Do it on a case-by-case basis is your point.
Yes.
Look at the case.
100%.
3 judges make recommendations. Trump doesn't have to follow them, by the way. But at least he would have the information in front of him, and it wouldn't be deemed as a political pardon. All right, let's get to Penny. So I'm very happy, as you guys have been talking about throughout the whole hour, that the New York jury understood the concept of reasonable doubt, because there is no doubt there was reasonable doubt in what happened on that subway car. There are 2 things that linger. One is that most people will now be very reluctant to help another person, because even though Penny's bills were paid by a variety of fundraisers, that was 18 months of hell, and now he's being in civil court, on and on. It never ends. Okay? So if you're going to help somebody, you yourself are at risk, particularly when you have an irresponsible ideologue as the district attorney, Alvin Bragg. I mean, it's going to send a chilling effect of the Good Samaritan. How can the Good Samaritan afford to be the Good Samaritan in an atmosphere like we have in New York City? That's number one. That's horrible. Number 2 is, and it hasn't really broken out yet, and I hope it doesn't, is the racial component on this. So it doesn't really matter what color you are. If you are mentally ill and roaming the subways, screaming and threatening people, you have to be neutralized. And there are simply not enough New York City police officers to do it. So civilians have to defend themselves. And it doesn't matter what color the mentally ill person is. So the family of the man who died shouldn't be suing Daniel Penny, should be suing Alvin Bragg and the apparatus in New York that allows mentally ill people to roam around and hurt other people at will. We've all seen it. We all know somebody who's been a victim of it. It continues unabated. That's where the lawsuit should go. These people need to be isolated. And to hear these people out front, there weren't many of them, screaming about black this and white this, that is so heinous. I can't tell you how bad that is.
And, he also, did you hear right after the verdict came down, they were essentially threatening the jurors, too. I mean, they said 9 white jurors, we knew that, have a good Christmas while Jordan Neely's family is in mourning. I mean, I am worried how incendiary this could get, Bill.
Well, luckily it hasn't really gotten much traction thus far.
Yeah, thank goodness.
Yeah, I've been monitoring the local TV and the radio, and there's one guy, I'm not mentioning his name because that empowers him. He always does this stuff.
Yep.
Always.
Yep.
Sharpton has been mute. You haven't heard much from Sharpton. He's still counting his $500,000 from Kamala. It takes a while to count that much money that Kamala gave him, and one of the most corrupt things I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yep.
NBC News. But I'm hoping that this kind of a thing doesn't emerge, because this is a mental health, public safety problem, not a race problem.
Yeah, I agree. Judge Weinberg.
Bill, to your point, one of the big mistakes that was reprehensible in that trial was the assistant DA constantly referring to Daniel Penny as the white guy and the victim as the black guy. And it took.
Well, why do you think he did that, Judge?
Oh, to taint the jury.
He did it?
Of course, to taint the jury. It was awful.
Yeah, but he was ordered to do it.
I accept that.
His boss plays that card every single day.
Absolutely awful. And a good lawyering, they made the judge finally correct that. But the problem is, as you know,
you can't undo it.
Trial, you can't undo and unhear what you've heard. And every person who's tried a case knows that.
I think adults in New York City understand the game at this point. They understand the demonization that because of the social disorder rise. And it's, look, I have never in my life evaluated any situation based on skin color, ever, or ethnicity, or religion. That is for really emotionally disturbed people. We do not do that here. But I think in this case that it's a step back for all people to say, look, we got to get this mental health thing under control. We cannot allow people to roam this city and put other people at risk. You can't allow it. Yet no one that I know of, not the governor, not the mayor, not the DA, not the attorney general, wants to deal with that problem.
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, I was looking at Jordan Neely's track record. You probably know this, Bill O'Reilly, but he was on the list of like 50 people with mental illness to be concerned about with violence. He had 42 arrests in 7 years, including assaulting a woman on the subway. Prior to this, this is Jordan Neely, the guy who died with Daniel Penny. But
we should give him a ticker-tape parade.
Yeah, John says hooray to Daniel Penny.
I didn't mention that because I don't want to demonize someone who's dead. All right?
Yeah.
I think I can make the case without doing that.
No, hear you, but it's a revolving door to your point, Absolutely.
Of course. When you've been arrested 42 times, and one of the arrests, and I believe he was convicted on the charge of assaulting an elderly woman.
Yeah.
An elderly woman. All right? And he's still running around. How do you explain that, Governor Hochul?
Exactly. No, that's a great point, Bill. You're right. This is a time where people need to address that, and no one is. Judge Weinberg.
When someone is a threat to themselves or to other people, there should be an ability to seize them civilly and have them committed and get them the attention and the services they need.
Yeah, to help them and help us.
Right, and it's not a civil right to be let out onto the streets, and that's what the left wing is trying to do. It is not a civil right to be out on the streets, mentally ill, a threat to yourself and to others.
Listen, unless New York starts to face up to the social disorder that puts every single person in jeopardy every day, the city will continue to decline. People will continue to leave. People will get hardened to suffering. You've already destroyed the Good Samaritan thing, Alvin Bragg. I hope you're happy about that. I really hope you're happy about it. So we have to try to put enormous pressure on the lawmakers in Albany, the city council in Manhattan and New York, and the other boroughs to stop the madness, because they're cowards. They don't want to stop the madness.
Which is, boy, what a sad testament. You're right, Bill, but what a sad testament, isn't that? I mean, how do you turn this around for New York?
We're going to take back the blue cities and let Eric Adams be the first one to take back New York, okay? And let him make a deal with President Trump. Let him make a deal with
Holman, yeah.
And let's bring back New York. Enough is enough.
Yeah, I feel like hopefully the verdict today is a turnaround. I mean, the fact that a New York jury,
Manhattan jury did this, I find amazing.
Yeah, Bill, I'm curious your thoughts. How they were obviously deadlocked on the more serious. Everyone sort of thought, okay, maybe they might go to this compromise. It's a Manhattan jury that said not guilty. Your reaction just to that? So quickly.
You know, I think it was whoever, and you'll get this probably in a day or two, whoever the jury foreman was, after the initial dismissal of which you guys rightly pointed out, very unusual for a DA to dismiss a charge after a hung jury, usually say, oh, we'll go back and try it. That just shows you how transparently political this whole thing was. But whoever the jury foreman was, I think he just sat down and said, look, there's reasonable doubt on all of these charges. Let us be reasonable. And I think that's what happened.
Yeah, because it is stunning. I mean, everybody expected, even we had, you may have heard earlier, we had Thomas Kenneth. I think he was, the attorney for Daniel Penny, Bill O'Reilly, and he was surprised how quick they came back today, for this. Everyone thought this might drag on.
Well, he did a good job in putting it into perspective. When you have a subway car full of people who are terrified, and most of those people were applauding the man who's charged with a crime, that's reasonable doubt.
Yeah, I agree. And the witnesses said that. I mean, the witnesses that played said, yeah, the guy was shouting, I'm going to kill somebody. I don't care if I go to jail.
That's the very definition of justifiable homicide on the facts and the law. That's exactly what you had here.
This goes to my basic point of social disorder. People are on edge when they have to go on the subways, even the buses, when they're walking in Central Park. You are not relaxed anymore in New York City. There are too many evil and mentally ill people walking around who will hurt you. And everybody knows it. The cops know it. And it's got to stop.
Yeah, absolutely. Bill, well said. Well, hopefully, the powers that be are also listening. And they take note of that because you're right. It's terrifying. But at least justice prevailed today in a New York City courtroom.
You have 30 seconds?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, please.
Okay. So I got a call from the information officer in the Bronx because I said on WABC on Common Sense at 9 o'clock that I don't think the Bronx DA wants to charge these two thugs who beat up the cops, two police officers on the subway in the Bronx. Their cases have been postponed 8 times. 8. Okay? There's videotape of it. So I got a little, and she called and says, no, we want to do it. And I said, madam, with all due respect, why then has it been deferred 8 times? The next hearing is in January. I'm on this. I am on this.
Well, let's go to war and let's put our foot down.
They listen to WABC. That's the point I'm
Let's WABC put our foots down and we let's make a difference in the Bronx.
Absolutely. Bill, I'm glad you're spotlighting that case too. Thank you very much, Bill. And everybody, we're going to be tuning in tonight, Bill, to listen to you to Common Sense with Bill O'Reilly.
And what do we stand for?
Truth, justice, and the American way.
God bless America.
Thank God for Daniel Penny.
Larry Kudlow here with an urgent warning. While we celebrate Trump's historic win, inflation continues to drain your IRA and 401k. And China is now targeting your money with a kill shot on the dollar. That's why thousands of Americans are shielding their savings with gold and contacting the experts at Colonial Metals Group. Gold has protected American wealth through every financial war. For a free 2024 gold guide that explains everything, please go to freegoldguide.com/Kudlow or just call 800-621-3908. The experts at Colonial Metals Group are the only folks I trust to help you bulletproof your wealth with gold. Go to freegoldguide.com/Kudlow or just call 800-621-3908. That's 800-621-3908 for a free 2024 gold guide to learn how you can protect your life's work, and if you qualify for a free home safe and up to $7,500 in free silver right now. freegoldguide.com/Kudlow.
Roger Stone here with an urgent warning. While we celebrate Trump's historic win, inflation continues to drain your IRA and 401k. And China is now targeting your money with a kill shot on the U.S. dollar. That's why thousands of Americans are shielding their savings with gold and contacting the experts at Colonial Metals Group. Gold has protected American wealth through every financial war. For a free 2024 gold guide that explains everything, go to freegoldguide.com/Stone or call 800-747-6589. So go to freegoldguide.com/Stone or call 800-747-6589. That's 800-747-6589 for a free 2024 gold guide to learn how you can protect your life's work, and if you qualify for a free home safe and up to $7,500 in free silver right now. That's freegoldguide.com/Stone.